Hello again. We've been investigating, imagining sounds and pictures in our minds, from songs and animal sounds to alien sounds and dancing shoes. In this final session, we're going to pick up on something we've started in other sessions, which is looking at pictures or images and imagining what sounds they might make inside our minds. Last time we created rhythms from looking at dots and shapes, and we imagined the sounds of footwear from looking at pictures of shoes and words about shoes. This time we can make any kind of sound we want. You're going to need some pens and paper or felt tips or crayons or something for this, so if you haven't got them right with you, you'll need to pause the video and go and get some markers or something and some bits of paper, and I'll wait here for you to come back. Okay, you all ready? Okay, I'm going to start by making some slightly weird sounds, and I want you to respond immediately, not thinking about it, by making a mark on the paper that you think represents the sound I made. It doesn't have to be a complicated picture, you don't need words or letters or anything for it, just some sort of quick mark on the page that reflects what you think my sound looks like. You ready? The first one goes like this. Whee! Okay, have you drawn that? Perhaps it looked something like this. Or completely different. Maybe your picture looked like this. Or something completely different. Everyone has different ideas about what sounds look like. It's quite fun. All right, my second sound is even sillier. Are you ready to draw this sound? Boing. Boing. Okay, have you drawn that one? What did your boing sound look like? Did it look like this? Or like this? Or something completely different? What you could do after the video is finished is you could show your drawings to someone else and ask them what they think it sounds like. See if they came up with anything like the original sounds. Probably not. Everyone's imagination works in a different way, doesn't it? Now we're going to do the opposite. I'm going to show you some drawings, and these were ones made on a computer by my friend Sheena, and I want you to imagine the sounds that she was thinking of when she made these pictures. They're a little bit more complicated than just one mark, so you can take some time to imagine what these images sound like in your head, okay? So here's the first one. All these little dots. What do you think they could sound like? So have a look at the picture again, maybe shut your eyes and try to imagine the sound of those dots. Okay. What did I imagine? I've looked at it quite a few times, and I think the first time I thought of lots of little piano notes, like a little tune. And then a different time I thought of tiny little bells, because they're quite pale dots, and I imagined high tinkling sounds for them. But you might have thought of something completely different, like rain falling or peas falling on the ground, little tiny sounds. Okay, here's a second drawing that Sheena did. Slightly simpler, this one. Have a look at it and then see what kind of sound you think this drawing looks like. Did you hear a sound in your head? Maybe you thought it looked quite like a snake, so you heard a hissing noise. Or maybe you thought it looked quite watery. Maybe you heard a sort of river noise. Or maybe you heard a tune, because it goes up and down, doesn't it? So maybe you heard some notes in your head that went up and down. Could be anything you like. And here's our third and last picture by Sheena. Here we go. Now, what kind of sounds could make that? It's very colourful. There's lots of change, lots going on in it. Do you imagine the sound spreading out? Or is it one big loud sound? So have a look at it again, then shut your eyes. Try to imagine the sound that picture might make. What were you thinking of? I'm not sure what I was thinking of. Again, I've looked at it a few times. One of the times I went back to the idea of bells again. I must like bells, because that bell sound, you hit it once, but the sound spreads out like the circle picture did. But you could have thought of anything you liked. Now, what would happen if you had a whole series of different sounds? I've drawn something, and I would like you to imagine what each of the sounds is like. We'll do it separately first. So you need to imagine what that wiggly line sounds like in your mind. Can you imagine a sound for that? Maybe you can think of a musical instrument playing it, or is it someone singing it, or is it something in the natural world? So that's the wiggly line. Then you need to imagine a different sound for the big explosion shape. It doesn't have to sound like an explosion, does it? It could sound like a loud chord on a guitar, or it could sound like someone dropping a stone. And then there's also these little tiny sparkly shapes. There's red ones and some green ones. Do they sound different if they're a different colour? What do those sparkly shapes sound like? And then the last shape is that big wiggly one at the bottom. What on earth would that sound like? Have a look at it again and shut your eyes and imagine that wiggly shape making a sound. Okay, so here's the picture again. You don't know where to start on that picture. There's nothing to tell you where to start. Maybe you start with the first thing you see. Maybe you see the explosions first. Or maybe you start at the bottom and work up to the top. Maybe you follow it around in a sort of circle shape. Or maybe your eyes can just wander all over the page, and every time you see a new shape, you imagine that sound. So, keep looking at the picture, and then I'm just going to give you a few moments to imagine all the sounds in that picture linked up into one big sound story. Okay, off we go. And you can always pause the video if you want more time. Okay. I sort of went from left to right as if I was reading a book, but then towards the end there was lots happening all at once, and I couldn't imagine all the different things at once, so I started to go from top to bottom as well. So I sort of went wee like that, imagining all the sounds. You could have done it completely differently. Underneath the video I'll put a link to that picture so you could print it off and in your own time imagine what it all sounds like. Or you could show it to someone else and ask them what they think it sounds like. Another thing you could do is draw your own picture full of sounds. So you'll need to decide on 3, maybe 4 different little images, little pictures, and what they sound like in your head. And then draw them over the page in a way that you can join them up in your head to make lots of lovely sounds. And then when you've put all your shapes all over the picture, you could show your picture to someone else and ask them, what do you think that sounds like? I'm sure it will sound completely different to them from what you were imagining. That's the good thing about imagination. Everyone's different. That's it for this set of videos. We've been imagining all sorts of sounds and how we can look at sounds and how we can hear pictures. There's lots more things to do if you follow the links underneath the video. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.